Oh, yeah, you remember.
One for reading. Ready?
Welcome, everyone. Before we begin, just to remind you that the meeting is in person and also being recorded and live streamed on our YouTube channel. So we will have participants joining us via Zoom as well as from the evening. So let's get started. Call the roll. And then we have Deputy Mayor Ness,
Present.
Councilor Wall, Chief Councilor Rimmel, and Councilor Johnston, myself, Heather Watson. And to my left, we have our department. Hello. Our CAO, Lennon Humpkins. Our interim treasurer, Paul Creamer. Manager of Public Works, Jake Condon. On Zoom, they have Christine. There we go. Christina Coulter, hello. And our fire chief is joining us. Okay. So I think with everybody here with 4 minutes, I'll now call the meeting to order. On the land acknowledgement, we respectfully acknowledge that we are on treaty and traditional territory of Winnebago, Zagag, and Intibac. We offer our gratitude to the First Peoples for their care for and teachings about our earth and our religion. May we honor those teachings. And we'll just pause for a moment of silence. Okay. Moving on, we all have received the agenda in advance. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing nothing, could I please ask, could we get an adoption of the agenda for today? Councilman Johnson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Nelson, all in favor, and that carries. On to adoption of the minutes, and the rising from the minutes. We have the minutes for April 4th. Councilor Watt, seconded. Councilor Johnston, all in favor, and that is approved. On to item 6.2, we have a notice of motion that Councilor Watt brought forward on a previous meeting. It was made by yourself and seconded by Councilor Johnston. So we're just looking for a discussion on it. I'd like to read the motion.
All right, thank you very much. This is pretty near and dear to a lot of hearts around our area. Minor hockey has been a major staple in our area for many decades. So, whereas the Douro District Minor Hockey and the Township of Douro-Dummer have had a long history with the Ontario Minor Hockey Association, and whereas the Hockey Association has been involved in playoff hockey for decades. And whereas every minor hockey group in Ontario has enjoyed the previous format of traveling back and forth from town to town, competing to move on to the next plateau in the chase for provincial championship. And whereas the economic gains that small and medium municipalities enjoy from accommodation revenue, as well as restaurants and stores being utilized, therefore be it resolved that the Township of Douro-Dummer send a letter to the Ontario Minor Hockey Association requesting to return to the previous playoff format that we have all enjoyed for years. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to all Ontario municipalities for endorsement, as well as the Minister of Heritage, Sport, Tourism, and Culture Industries.
So this has already been moved, again, by Councilor Watts, seconded by Councilor Johnson. Is there any discussion or debate?
I think the deputy mayor. Seconded.
Did that mean anything else?
Yeah.
Huge improvement. Sorry about that. Perhaps I just.
Okay.
What I told you. So is there any discussion on that motion that was received last meeting?
As the chair, I think that's a well worded motion and very supportive.
Okay. So with is there anything else that you're checking on that? No, it was definitely okay. So I think so with the discussion, we'll just follow the vote. And that motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. On to our consent agenda. Are there any items that council would like to hold for discussion?
Yes, at 7.1, the Municipal Affairs Housing Introduction to the Health and Home Buyers Protecting Tenants Act. I would like that over to the special and the special mayor meeting.
Okay, thank you. Any other items that we're going to hold for discussion? Seeing nothing further, can I please get a motion to receive and approve the items 7.2 and 7.3 on the consent agenda? Deputy Mayor Nelson, second by Councilor Thompson, all in favor? And that carries, and we will discuss 7.1 further on the agenda in the second level. Moving on down to item 8, we do have a delegation this evening. Tyler Hughes is joining us on Zoom. Here to give us an update on the joint fire and public works facility project. Hi, how are you?
Good afternoon, Mayor Watson. Thank you. Just want to confirm everyone can hear me. Okay, great. So thank you for having me this afternoon. I appreciate the opportunity to provide an update on the project. I just want to confirm from your side that you can see the slides that have been presented or provided for review, or would you like me to share?
I think you'll need to share those.
Okay. No worries. 1 second, please. Clean up, wrong screen, my apologies. Too many screens in my office. If you can see that, okay.
Sorry, Tyler, you just have to go back to whatever your previous setting was. We were able to see them a moment ago.
Okay. Can you see this one? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, my apologies. Thank you. So just a little bit with new council or new members of council, just to introduce myself. My name is Tyler Peters. I'm president, project director with Greenview, based out of the Bancroft area, northern Hastings County. Our firm is located just north of Bancroft in the municipality of Hastings Highlands. We're a small rural municipal serving type of engineering consultant focused on municipal infrastructure and engineering with a specialization in building and site development type projects and asset management reviews and such compliance. With respect to this project, we've had the pleasure of working with the municipality commencing, late 2015, when we worked with previous council and staff to develop a design for the kind of renewal, replacement of existing fire and public works facilities, kind of centrally located, I guess, within the municipality, primarily due to the available land and the existing public works facilities and fire facilities in the Warsaw area. So the studies that have been completed going back to roughly 2016 are predicated on a number of building asset challenges the township has, certainly not unlike many municipalities in Ontario, certainly small rural Ontario. And those studies have looked at, I believe, if not all of the municipalities' buildings since that time, certainly I would say at least 90% of those, certainly fire and public works related, we have looked at as part of various projects and various steps. At the end of the day, the results from these studies have really supported new or the replacement of existing buildings versus renovations and upgrades. Just some quick photos. I'm sure council is aware generally of the condition of some of your buildings. Just public works based. These are some photographs, updated photographs, I guess, from 2023 with respect to the public works operations in the Warsaw location. You see in these photos certainly cramped space. You have restricted access for pedestrian travel. We have roof leakage and foundation and wall leakage in some cases, with resultant impacts to areas, occupied areas. And of course, as with any facility, we have some accessibility challenges as well that go along with these older buildings. These are just a few snapshots to give everyone a sense of current condition. With respect to fire, this is the Warsaw station. Again, restricted access and accessibility throughout the building, mechanical and electrical challenges. We have structural challenges as well, building envelope issues at this building that have been identified prior through the various studies and again updated to 2023. So again, both of these buildings have continued to operate, primarily, of course, based on need. So requirement to service the municipality's needs in both public works as well as fire, and their challenges and their service life certainly is at or has expired. From some of the studies that we've worked on in past years, one in particular was a space needs and repurposing study we completed which was finalized in 2019. Just to illustrate some of the key findings as shown in the slide, it was determined it was really impractical to expand the existing public works garage buildings. And we looked at both Warsaw as well as the Douro facilities, because equipment has gotten larger, but the buildings, of course, can't be stretched. Other issues that complicate that kind of thing. We noted that the Warsaw Fire Hall was constrained by lands and adjacent land use. We have residential land use in that vicinity. The Douro Public Works Garage was unsuitable generally for fire truck storage, and this is a code, building code related restriction, but again, by necessity, which is again common in small rural municipalities, there is a use there. The Douro Fire Hall itself, which is similar to other small buildings that house fire apparatus or overflow, is also constrained and of insufficient size. And again, the key finding coming out of that particular study was significant investment in those aging buildings was not recommended, and mounting ongoing maintenance was an issue and was certainly identified as something to keep in mind. So the new combined or joint public works and fire facility really in the Warsaw area was the recommendation. It was determined through these studies that it would maximize the return on investment to the municipality, minimize continuation of ongoing life cycle costs. So small capital upgrades, repairs, and of course operating costs, but further to reduce risk to the municipality. The strategic kind of approach that was identified again through the studies was to build new, look to build new before decommissioning, old facilities to continue service. So there's a high priority, of course, in public works and fire servicing. So that needed to be maintained. This new facility would address all public works shortcomings that was identified through the studies, and would also address the greater Warsaw regional kind of area, central area, fire and rescue needs. Through the joint fire and public works facility design, and I'm not going to share all drawings with council tonight to save you that. There are 30 some of those. from the previous work. That design kind of shows different size of areas. So the public works portion was about 1,365 square meters, fire and rescue about 1,000 square meters, and then a shared administrative space in the middle, totaling about 27 or 2,800 square meters. In the image at the bottom of the slide, that the red doors, bays 1, 2, and 3 are the proposed fire area. The middle portion is the shared administrative space, and then the public works facilities are on the left side of that image. This is a general site plan developed through the work completed in 2016, 2017. The existing public works garage is shown at the bottom and was retained as part of the overall design. The existing sand dome was also planned to be retained, and the new facility was to be constructed to the north of those two buildings on new lands acquired by the municipality, and that process had initiated at the time in 2016, 2017. We have, as required by such types of developments, we had stormwater management facilities, and an environmental compliance approval has been applied for and received to permit the stormwater works to commence. We have a larger septic system and such, and a new well, etc. The new well has been constructed as of this time. This is a kind of a close-up, and I apologize. It's very difficult to get good resolution in a presentation like this, but this is showing the kind of eastern portion of the building closest to the highway with the fire apparatus area, so drive-through bay arrangements, as well as the shared middle portion of the building as it was designed in 2017, finalized 2017. So apparatus area, larger apparatus area with locker rooms, bunker gear storage that meets current requirements, the fire marshal's office, kitchen area, large training room that facilitates both training of fire personnel, but also public works training or other staff, municipal staff, meeting rooms, offices, etc., and of course code-related washrooms. The public works area, as it was designed in 2017, had a large area for equipment maintenance and servicing, and then storage bays for other municipal equipment, as well as a wash bay, tool and storage room, locker rooms, washroom, etc. Again, the goal here was to get equipment out of the weather and internal to the get it inside where it could be managed. And this kind of constitutes the larger public works layout. To the right of your screen is the shared area with the meeting and training room, etc. All part of that 2017 design. So moving out of 2017 to current times, that 2017 design requires updates, and there have been changes to the site. There have been changes to equipment and systems, and those optimizations of certain equipment and systems to be considered. The building use has been changed to some extent, and I'm talking about primarily micro changes associated with staffing changes. But of course, the building code has also changed since 2017 in certain elements. I mentioned earlier the stormwater ECA has been secured for the project, but it had a 5-year construction window, which closes in March 2024. And due to conditions within the ECA, it would need to be revised or extended for a period of time when council decides to move forward. So just a quick aerial shots, just for council's knowledge. This is the 2017 site condition. This is the public works garage and the sand dome. The proposed new building area is roughly in here off the north entrance to the pit. In 2017, stockpiling of aggregates and such materials. You can see armor stone and such. Nice, neat, organized, tidy site. And similarly in 2021, again, it's nice, neat, and tidy. but you can see how the gravel pit areas have been developed. Stockpiles kind of remain to the north, but the site has changed, and in order to do construction, a new topographic site survey and other civil type mapping would need to be completed in order to advance. So this is just an example of site changes. So just in conclusion, since 2018, all of the township's existing fire and public works buildings have been evaluated to our knowledge, and we've been fortunate enough to be part of those in some way, shape, or form. In general and overall, those facilities are in poor condition. Certainly, the township has been working with what they have and what they can. But they've reached the end of their service lives, with the exception of the White Lake Fire Hall, which was recently upgraded. We are not recommending and continue to support an approach that the township build new to replace these existing facilities that are really in a kind of a difficult condition to manage. I think any small capital upgrades or repairs really would be considered Band-Aid type efforts to manage those facilities and to keep them operating. Eventually, the cost of those small upgrades or Band-Aid type efforts are going to be cost prohibitive in terms of the overall return on such actions. The construction of the new combined facility, again, in whatever form it may take, should be completed prior to decommissioning of existing facilities. And again, that's fairly straightforward, but you need to continue to operate and provide those services to ratepayers while you are implementing your new solution. So recommendations, again, we are recommending that council invest in a new joint facility to maximize your returns and minimize continuation of ongoing life cycle costs. We do recommend a strategic implementation plan be put together that would include financial planning. And I know that the treasurer has been busy with other staff finding ways to include this project in municipal budgeting processes. If possible, the Warsaw Sand Dome, as well as possibly the Warsaw Works Garage, or part of it, could be part of the new works of the facility, and that could be further evaluated. We didn't look at the Sand Dome as part of the previous work in 2017, and the Public Works facility itself. There are challenges with that, and it also is aging and should be looked at in terms of its viability to continue. But of course, through you, Mayor Watson, I'm open to any questions.
Thank you very much for that overview and a bit of an update as to where things are at with council's filing. I'll just look over to staff. Are there any comments or questions from staff before we move on? Elaine?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Watson. Just the direction previously from council was to ask staff to go back and look at splitting the building into phases. So my initial conversation with Tyler at that time, we talked about the ECA, we talked about the work that would have to be completed. And at this point, I can't come to council and say that we're going to find cost savings to split the building into two phases. And by delaying the project, I think with the ECA and a number of other things that would have to be completed, I still feel it's best to move forward as one project. So when I was speaking with Tyler, we talked about providing an update. Unfortunately, Councilor Ward isn't able to join us because it would have been helpful for him to been able to see the presentation and get caught up. Most of you have been involved since the beginning. So, but we thought it would be helpful to come back and have the conversation again and take a look at what the conditions are. They are deteriorating and get some idea from council as to how we can move forward. I thought it was best to have Tyler here. If you have questions about that ECA or some other specifics, he'd be involved.
Thank you. Council, Comments, questions, hopefully.
Through the chair, this is a project that's got to be done, and it's got to be done right away. The only thing that I see that, I would personally like to see done on it is that looking at the picture of the building, the bottom there. I would be all in favor of putting that building up as is. And having the fire hall part of it done instantly. But the building be on the roads department, put the building in shape, but I mean, maybe not do the whole inside of the building on the roads department. That's the way I think to split it in half, would be the right thing as far as the structure of the building, as far as the looks of it. I think we need to frame it all in and do it all, but instantly do the office area and the fire hall. That's the way I would like to see done, and I'd like to see it done instantly.
Just like that.
Just like that, 3 or 4 years ago.
Councilor Watt.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much. Thanks, Tyler. It's nice to get the update on projects that have been hanging for quite a while. You've said in your presentation here that the certain things are going to need to be updated since the last time. So I got any idea what kind of a cost we have on that just for the updates before we can even start looking at building?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. We have not undertaken a detailed kind of process yet for looking at all of the specific elements that need to be looked at. There have been some requests from staff to modify layouts a little bit to accommodate some additional offices, both for the shared space, some washroom, locker rooms. We're talking about generally minor things to some extent, but they are code. Some of them are code related. Some of them are accessibility related. Some of them are structural. All of those elements kind of fit together. So there have been some requests to look at other optimizations of the public works side of the building, be it through the wash bay, the public works manager's office, and that kind of thing. And those elements haven't been fully worked through. We've been speaking to our kind of consultant team on some of those changes and what they might look like, and working with staff over the past kind of year or so. We've also looked to update some of the costing or construction. I should be careful, the budgetary construction cost element estimates that are associated with the project. We have certainly looked at optimizing elements of the building. Some members of council may recall, certainly in the 2016-2017 focus was really on kind of the higher levels of energy efficiency, environmental sustainability in the design. We can certainly retain core elements of that in terms of energy efficiency, etc. But we have discussed with staff about managing that or optimizing what those would be to help simplify and reduce costs in the overall building. But as it stands now, we've had initial discussions, initial concept discussions, but we haven't moved forward as yet with any level of detailed design.
One more, if I may, please. Thank you. That's yeah. I didn't expect you to have a bang on reel, because I mean, this is still, we've got to approve it first, which I kind of agree. By the sound of what I've heard here so far, it's looking like a goal. But and I know there was discussions and council was part of, so I got about some of the bells and whistles that were, you know, are they not really necessary to try and save some cost, because this is going to be a costly building, no doubt. But no, I do appreciate that, and if we go ahead with it, we're going to need this like really fast, because we don't want to wait another year or two to get this building going. We want to get it going as quick as possible. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Deputy Mayor Nelson?
Through you, Mayor Watson. Thanks, Tyler, for your presentation. Tyler, you know I've been around a while on this project, and anyways, I echo my counterparts here. we need to get this building done and get it up. There's no question about that. And I do believe that anything that can be looked at, that can be obviously to save money or to put into the building for future cost savings, I echo that. I think that's a great thing to do. If we can look at, we maybe don't need to put solar on the roofs right now, but if we can definitely do that in the future, or something that we can add on to the building for future cost savings, I would like that included there. That's my thoughts anyways. I think that's imperative to plan for the future, especially for the building. So that's my comments. Thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Nelson. Just a couple of questions for myself, Tyler. You know, there's been lots of conversation in the past, I know, since when I was on council last year, about the exterior storage for vehicles, or using some sort of coverall to help, as opposed to a physical structure of the building, to help reduce construction costs. Is there anything that's changed in the building technology or cost of construction that would suggest that building such a facility with coverall type unit for exterior storage would make sense in lieu of building itself?
Thank you, Mayor Watson, for your questions. The building as it's currently designed, there are kind of two parts. So the initial question or point about trying to do this in two phases, building phases, site is another thing. The design includes two parts of the building. So the fire and the shared services side, so the middle core, are both post-disaster design. So those are Ontario Building Code post-disaster requirements for fire and rescue services, emergency services. So the public works side was not designed that way. So I raised those points just because there is an opportunity possibly to look at different ways. It is a large building. It will take time to redesign, to update design, to coordinate any changes, and then move to construction. The building is effectively non-combustible construction. So that's primarily a code-related term, but to keep it simple for people like me, we're talking about steel, concrete, masonry, and those kind of things with applicable fire ratings per code. Sustainability wise, we have also been involved with other projects, not to this size, with options for wood or other type of construction. And that's where we get into what's called combustible construction. And there are certain code related elements and challenges to that have to be considered in a building of this size. Rarely, if at all, but rarely do we see a industrial type use of building like this be constructed out of wood. Normally it's non-combustible. We're talking steel and masonry, that kind of thing, concrete type construction. So the current design brings forward all those non-combustible elements. We have, as I mentioned, in 2016, 2017, we brought forward a number of sustainability measures and targets with the building. As the deputy mayor mentioned, things like solar and those kind of things were brought forward to offset some of our environmental footprint with respect to the building. That's still an option. Solar is not required to be installed. It can be done at a later time. And it was strategically kind of planned to be done that way. There are other elements of the building that were brought forward in the original design that we feel can be optimized, i.e. reduced for cost savings, that are still looking at new equipment, new systems and such that maybe can enhance the sustainability overall of the building from 2017. But those are kind of the higher level points that were carried forward from 2017 that we've been looking at and trying to get the project to move forward.
All right, thank you for that. I still think that, you know, the conversation around the steel building for vehicle storage, that's kind of a guaranteed hybrid, for the public works facility, not fire facilities specifically, I understand the challenges there, but like a overall type building. There's really a lot of conversation in the community about, so I appreciate any remarks that you can offer to help us chart that out and make sure that when closing is the right solution for the public works vehicle.
Right.
Deputy Mayor Nelson?
Tyler, maybe you could, maybe you might, Eric. Tyler, maybe you can just, speak a little bit. I believe most of them coverall buildings, in some cases, are not, you are unable to work and have workers in them buildings. Is that the case? Tyler, maybe in answer to Mayor Watson's question.
Thank you for the question through you, Mayor Watson. I know this topic has been an important topic, and we've been involved right from when it first arose, and we appreciate there are measures that can be employed with respect to the public works side, primarily to look at options for reduced costs, so reduced heating, general storage. We have not, again, and this kind of echoes back to previous discussions on this point, we haven't had really any experience with winter road maintenance type of vehicles being stored in unheated facilities during the winter months. Primarily the need for inspections, safety. We often hear about frozen, you know, at the end of a shift or end of a patrol. Those trucks are generally loaded to be ready for the next operator to come in. And if those materials are frozen in the box of the truck, then they can't be used. So with respect to use or access of those coverall type buildings, I think it depends on the application. I think it depends on the use, depends on what equipment are being stored, but there certainly are challenges to looking at that or to using a building like that for that kind of purpose. We can, the township certainly can look at and consider other ways to reduce cost of portions of the building. But there are, for example, if the municipality wanted to look at taking a portion of the works garage and making it what's called semi-heated under the code, you would have, say, a reduced heating requirement in those areas, but you would have to construct a separation. So there would be a wall required, for example, to separate that portion of the building. There's a capital cost for that. Does that capital cost outweigh the savings, for example, of something like that? That could be something that is looked at in terms of determining how best to go. So we appreciate with new staff and new council that some of these things are wanting to be looked at in detail and certainly should be a priority before things get moving forward.
Thank you again for that. So what I'm really kind of hearing is it's you know, pay now or pay later when it comes to a capital versus operating expense decision. By looking at perhaps a cooler door steps storage for some of those comfort vehicles. Any other questions or comments on council? Seeing nothing, I think at this point in time, with thanks, Tyler, we just need to receive your presentation. Councilor Watt? Seconded? Deputy Mayor Nelson? All in favor? And that motion carries. Thanks again, Tyler. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so number two. That's what.
Do we need to give staff any direction tonight on this to get it moving forward before we close that section off? They probably need to know somewhere where we want to go with this, you know, some kind of idea of what our next steps are gonna be and not wait for another meeting kind of that. It's like, as Councilor Johnson said, time is of the essence. We need to get on the project, so. Is this the time that staff needs some information on it? That's kind of a question to staff.
Are we expecting a report on this in the future or no?
Through you, Mayor Watson, I don't know what else we would report at this stage, if you would, no, he's still, in the background. Tyler, I know we had talked, about the potential of the cost of revising the drawings. Any idea what we'd be looking at, just a ballpark? 'Cause I think
So,
the essentially is to revise the drawings, bring them back for approval, and then, yes.
So we have done that as requested by staff. We have put together kind of a budgetary cost or sense of what the fees and costs would be. That also includes, as I kind of presented earlier, with respect to updating site surveying, locating information, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right now, we're in a, depending on how it would proceed and an opportunity coming out of, tonight's meeting. Our sense of fees would be in the range of about $200,000. And that's kind of ready for tender documents to go out for public construction tendering. The timing is the issue. So the challenge with this, and we certainly heard through you, Mayor Watson, that there's interest in moving forward. Certainly that has been a topic of discussion for some time on the project. So that was our initial sense, and the timing of the project is a bit challenging for Greenview's team as it stands now. And it was kind of left with how council wanted to proceed on the project coming out of tonight's meeting. And I would have an opportunity to speak to the CAO about how best to proceed from there. So there's a considerable redesign cost that's going to impact the project. And that was kind of accounted for in the overall construction budget anyway, I think, in one way or the other. There's also the timing sequence here. This is a significant project that has a lot of work to be done, and it's something that's going to need dedicated personnel and a dedicated design team to work on. So
just to that, so we currently have about $140,000 for this year budget for the project. So I don't think that we need to request additional funds right now. If the consensus is that council wants to move forward, Tyler can take the conversation offline. We can certainly come back if there's an opportunity to start the drawings and move those things forward. So have to go ahead and do that, and then report back to council to where we're. I think ultimately the next step is to get a set of drawings that council can.
I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with Alana and Tyler coming up with the plans on the process and come back to council just as the one that is explained. I'll take your recommendation.
Somebody willing to second that?
Yeah, sure.
Councilor Johnson? Any discussion? All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. We're set now.
Thanks, Tyler.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now on to items number 9.1, we have the report on capital project status. I'm assuming council doesn't have an opportunity to review. Are there any questions on this report from council? Seeing nothing, a motion to receive. Councilor Watt, Mayor Nelson, all in favor, and that carries. Item 9.2. This will follow up additional information on the request that we received a couple of meetings ago. And I will hand this over to our.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. Mike was available this evening and myself, did meet, with, Mr. Asherberg about the bat house, and we were able to, get all of council's questions answered. I have itemized, those questions in the report, we'll have to go over them one by one, with the questions. Based on that information, but the recommendation that's before you, is to, receive the report and grant permission to place the bat house in the park with the additional educational fund.
I'll make that motion, follow the recommendation.
Second,
Sure.
Deputy Mayor Johnson, all in favor? And
Quick
that-
question, please.
question for council?
Yep, so we install the post, like the township installs the post, and then he supplies the house and.
Yeah.
We attach it or whatever, he'll it's kind of his baby how he built it, so I guess we work together on that.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councilor Watt, we did have discussions, with Marty about that, sorry, Mr. Ashworth. He doesn't have the equipment to, install such a large post.
Great.
So we did offer to do that installation for him, which also lessens our liability because we know the post has been installed.
And one more, so, and reading this, so every year it'll be taken down and stored somewhere and then go back up in the spring because you know, there's not vandalizing or anything else.
Through you, Madam Mayor, no, the goal is to just leave it up.
Leave it.
Here. But to do maintenance on it in the winter, and to go back.
Right.
Deciding.
Perfect, thank you.
So we have a motion on the floor, I'll vote formally now, all in favor, and that motion carries. On to the item 9.3 procurement, you can keep the agendas here, new parks, grass, recreation facility. Who's got the table?
Recreation facility 2023-03 report dated April 25th, 2023, regarding the parks mall we received. It's really just as an update on the mall that was approved during the budget process and the estimates that we received and the direction that the department has gone in the purchase.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
Excuse me, Mayor. The only question I have, what about the equipment we used last year? Were they going to use that for backup or?
Through you, Madam Mayor, you will have a report at the next council meeting, potentially the next one in May, at one of the meetings in May with a recommendation of what to do with the surplus.
That's what.
Do follow our recommendation. They're just routine, but I guess it is, yeah. Yeah, but thank you.
Second. Deputy Mayor Johnson, all in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. Item 10.1, update on county council matters. Deputy Mayor Johnson, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, not a whole lot of business as usual at the county. We are moving forward with our strategic plan of the county, which is actually I'm being interviewed tomorrow. I think they're setting up different interviews for county councilors to sit down and talk about, I guess, our vision or what we see as in the county. So that's moving forward, and other than that, there isn't really a whole lot to update council on. That's happened at county council. It's kind of just business as usual, nothing really specific. So that's my report.
All right. Thank you. Motion to receive. Councilor Watt, Councilor Johnson, all in favor, and that motion carries. Item 2.2, we have the public library board minutes. Maybe a motion for those. Councilor Johnson, second, Deputy Mayor Nelson. Councilor Watt.
Just a comment if I could, the artwork there, the art shows they have, so they got a plan really well received, and we're actually getting requests now for people that want to come and do it, so it's certainly taken hold and a lot of people enjoy it, so it's good, so, and there's a few things coming up that, you know, for different projects, so we got to have, so pretty busy out there.
Lots of events at your local library.
Absolutely.
It's, we've got a motion on the floor, all in favor, and that motion carries. Lastly, we have, in the section, the poll minutes. Maybe motion for those, please. Yeah, you hear those? Second, from the Johnson, all in favor, And that carries. Into correspondence. So we have two items. We have 11.1, which we'll deal with first, as well as carry over from 7.1, the administrative and board of affairs and meeting. So 11.1, we just found a couple weeks, request to municipal building of office. What is, council, what is on this one?
Just a question, this is all already from the county, right, on how to do stuff like that, and I think they were. I remember correctly, correct or wrong, because I didn't look on meeting, but did not the CAO of the county kind of come back with a recommendation on that because of legalities or stuff, or no, I can't remember what I read on. There was something.
There is, so this one came forward from municipality of Lake to county council. The request to change the municipal oath of office was to recognize Indigenous First Nation peoples in that oath of office in the land. Our county council, that conversation then turned also into to letting to the king now, future council. And there was some debate around that, at which time county council said asked report back. So the two were separated. So county council did approve the changes individually requested, which is what's before today as well. And the second piece, the report came forward on the pledging oath to the king was also heavily turned down. But very much.
I knew there was something in that, I just want to make sure we weren't kind of doubling up or going against what the county already decided on them. Okay, that's fine.
Yes, okay. So what would you like to do with this, council?
So bottom line is, we're saying through the chair, bottom line, we're saying that's that the oath to the first part we accept, but then recognizing the one with the king, Charles King, we're not recognizing that. Is that what we're saying?
I believe so, but
For you, Minor, the request to speak for us from Trent Lakes is a two-part request. The first part of the request is that the Citizens Act, which is the document that creates the municipal oath of office, is amended to include recognition of creed laws and agreements with First Nations and the Inuit and Métis people as part of our oath. So we would, in the oath, there's a section for obeying all federal and provincial laws. We would then add that additional language in there. And then further, the act would be, or the oath would be amended to speak to the king as opposed to the queen. I believe the change to the king will happen post coronation. The federal government would be in charge of updating that language and then passing it on to us.
I gotta make a motion to follow the recommendation or to receive and accept it because. And yeah, we did the Queen for 70 odd years, and I got now it's going to be King Charles, but it says observe the laws of Canada, including the Constitution, which recognizes and affirms that. So basically, we're still following what is in the Constitution anyhow. So I'm receiving and support.
All right. Seconded. Councilor Johnson. All in favor? And that motion carries. Now we're going back over to item 7.1, which is now 11.2. Which is the item that Councilor Watson wanted to hold for discussion. So I'll go to you.
Okay, and it's. I'm sure I'm not the only one to little hurry, but it kind of sounds like. If we do our budget and we've got, $5 million budget and $200,000 at the end of the year, the government wants to take it, instead of us keeping it used for something, and that doesn't fall in correctly with me because we may have, and again, like Rose is a perfect example. We don't know what kind of winter. We could have late winter and have a big reserve left over. We could have a bad winter and go in and have to go into reserve to cover stuff like that. I can't support the fact that they want to come in and take any extra money. Yeah, if that's the way I'm reading it.
Potentially, it's a little ambiguous. So this is a commenting process, so I think, you might want, again, we have options, we can receive this, we can receive and support this. Or we can perhaps have, review more closely and report back to us, or if this is the only item that you're concerned about, then you can, we can always, I suppose, to, provide a specific comment.
And again, because, and I'm only speaking for myself, or a little very honest, I would like to give staff time to review it, look it over, find out what kind of repercussions it has on our municipality, and then make a formed decision after that. So I would make that a holding stop.
So we have the motion, I'm pulling up, Martina, perhaps you know the deadline for commenting period. I was just looking for that in minutes. We have time for that. It's the 19th, June 6th. Okay. So that's reasonable. So that we can turn it for, I have a second meeting in May.
If you would be okay with that, please give us a second meeting in May. I can put that in. But
Are we just gonna see if our?
Oh, there it is.
we need.
Yes, were you doing here?
I'm here. I was just having a hard time hearing what was taking place.
So-
Is there a specific question? Sorry.
So in looking at the correspondence that we've received from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, there's a question around what are the points for third-party audits. Where the province can get a factual understanding of their finances, of municipality finances, including their reserve and the as part of a commitment to ensure that no funding shortfall for housing and infrastructure as a result of the more homes built on Mr. County. So I think the question is, other areas of concern beyond this that we need to be aware of, or do you have a better understanding of what this means with this particular clause means?
Sorry, guys. I'm having a really difficult time. Can you point me to the section in the correspondence? Is it on page 2?
It is in the news release. Well,
Okay. Still having a hard time finding it. So I have the letter. Are we referring to the letter from the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing dated April 6, 2003 or 23?
Yeah. So in the actual media release.
Okay,
Yes.
click on.
Yeah, in the news release. And then about halfway down the page, there's quick facts,
Okay, I'm with you.
the 5th bullet.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, this is to do with third-party audits of selected municipalities. Okay, I haven't read much about this part of the proposal, so are we suggesting that staff can bring something back to the second meeting in May? I think that's fair. We may even require something from our treasurer or the CAO to help us out with that.
Sure. All right, thank you. So Councillor Watt has a motion on the floor. Did you write out?
I'll second that.
Any other questions or comments on that? All in favor? And that motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Sorry, hold on.
It's okay, thank you.
On to item number 12, we have the bylaws. Who wants to handle this one? I can pass it to our treasurer, Hockney.
For you, these are the rates that are calculated based on the budget that was passed. And when did we pass that? Using traffic plan, I think that was in February. Yeah. So we don't calculate the rate immediately because we don't have the return roll, which is the total assessment that we're going to base the levy on and the rates on. And so we received them a few weeks ago, or through the calculation. So these are the rates that were essentially based on the levy that was passed in the budget.
All right, thank you. Can I get a motion unless there's any questions or comments?
No, make a motion to receive them and put them in place.
Seconded, Deputy Mayor Nelson, all in favor? And that motion carries. We have no reports. Any notices of motion? Being none, any announcements? Just what?
Just a reminder for the 29th, Ray, this Saturday for the Lions Club dinner upstairs, the roast beef dinner and live barbecue. So still tickets available?
Yeah, put your hand up now, though, like, they're going fast. They're going fast. Be a good supper before you go to Winnipeg.
That's all.
Okay, any other announcements from council? I'd just like to announce that our very own Deputy Mayor Nelson was recognized, was it just last week? It seems just last week at the Good Roads Association for a already for the service recognition for 34 years, was it? Yeah. Congratulations on that and that honor and recognition. Moving on into closed session, we do have a closed session this evening, so we'll look to go into closed, for the reasons stated on the agenda, for the client solicitor. Thank you, sorry, I was distracted by the noise. Seconded by Councilor Johnston, all in favor, and that carries. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, your leadership. Some things.
Go ahead.
You just transition.
When we get some drawings, you guys will be involved.
Sure.
Hey, Chuck?
There's a